Welcome. We are embodying, becoming something here. The basic question is, what do you choose to embody? I don't want to scare you much when I suggest that in many cases, people are wasting your own power by being unconscious about your potential and the way in which choices are made by refusing to watch, by refusing to look at the way your life is affected and shaped. Essentially, it's like operating on autopilot or sleepwalking. It is frightening to wake up because there is this phase in which you will repeatedly embody a perspective that says, oh my God, I've been making really stupid choices. And it can be tempting to numb that, to ignore it, because it's not pleasant to think that you have been making bad choices. You can either feel sort of a sense of guilt, like, I don't want to be responsible for this. I don't want to sense the fact that I'm responsible for this. It's more tempting to blame something else. Or you can simply avoid it altogether and pretend it's not happening. There is no wisdom in continuing to make the same mistakes in this way. Water is life. Good morning, Sam. Good morning, Angie. Thank you for being here. Thank you all for being here. I'd like to welcome people who are new. A lot of people have been coming in the door, and it's a joy to receive you. The presence here is really special. The community here is awesome. And I'd like to invite you to recognize we've got some folks who've been here for years, and we've been building something together that it's been a little seedling, and now we're beginning to sprout, and it's really joyful. The way this is going to go in the future is absolutely based on the way it has been. We value supporting each other from afar. Many folks are connected here who don't necessarily know many others in person like you. And that's one of the biggest reasons for this channel. Moreover, for those of you who do have camaraderie and support, we are networking more deeply. We're linking with each other all over the world to build strength within ourselves. Because ultimately, having the resolve, the resilience to maintain your vibration, to maintain a loving vibration in the face of the world as it is, unparalleled. You can't measure how important this is. First of all, it's crucial for your own health. And you can be a lighthouse for those around you. This is not the first priority. It can't be, or it won't be genuine. You'll start trying to influence people in the wrong ways. You'll start measuring things inappropriately. But to be present in a way that says, I will keep retuning to the new era, the new earth, the Satya Yuga, the great turning, the big shift. There's so many names from so many cultures for this time that we're entering. And the important trust to begin with is this is not like a let's flip the light switch kind of time. This is an interplay where you're shifting from one way of being to another, and you could linger behind, and you may need to, or you can move ahead and embody the forces of the new a little bit early and be a stand, be a presence, be a light that helps guide people into themselves, helps guide us all into the transformation that's already begun. So let's be present with how this works. We're not entering a time of a new religion. Religions are actually born in a time of division. There are gifts at the heart of every spiritual tradition, every culture, every way of being that are a gift to the greater world. They have usually been surrounded by what the Hebrews call klipa, husk, shells that protect traditions and ways of being. And from within a tradition, and even from outside, when you look at it and learn about it, it can be really difficult to discern what's important. What's the fruit of this? What's the heart of this? What's the gift of this? And what is baggage, habit, protective layers that are not intrinsic to this tradition? It is very reasonable to be concerned about cultural appropriation, just stepping into another culture and just grabbing a piece and say, I like this, and then just sort of playing. Without commitment, a lot doesn't work. If you're going through life and you're starting to fall in love with someone, it's going to bring up pain. Love does this. Real, true love will wake up your pain because love has an imperative. Love wants to love. Love wants to be present in your pain. Love wants to hold you while you scream. This is a wild flowing force. Wild flowing fire, spiritual passion moves into you, inhabits you. You don't get the same level of control to turn it on or off once it fully springs to life. This is known by many names: Kundalini awakening, enlightenment, realization. Spiritual awakening in many forms involves allowing life to move through you, allowing the Holy Spirit to live inside you. And when we enter the depths of this, and we truly cross the threshold where you really can't go back, it's too late. You're too deeply attuned. You're too deeply enlivened. You're addicted in a very good, real way to the passion of the new way. This is a living spiritual presence inside you. And the simplest of levels, once you attune to it enough, you start to get grumpy and tense. So you do the work to return, to stay with it. And this is what we can all expect for 10 years. 10 years. You commit now, understand. This is not 10 minutes and 7 signs that you're awakening on YouTube. All these kids are throwing out their lessons, like they get their lesson and they throw it to everybody else and go, look at how cool I am. Look, all respect, it's great to share. And understand this is discipline. This takes work. I'm inviting you to recognize that if you really want to do this, look forward to 10 years of moving back and forth in many ways. For one thing, that's what the next 10 years are, not just for you, for the world. 2024, 2034, I really encourage you to recognize this as a profound spiritual tension between the old ways and the new. And the question becomes, who are you? What are you going to involve yourself in? You can't aim for, I will become enlightened. It doesn't work like that now. Enlightenment is an attunement of your soul with your soul and your spirit in your body. And you can look forward to going back and forth between tuning in to a healthy way and losing it, and doing the work to tune in again and losing it. But the critical gift is that you get better at it. You get better at it. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being a part of this. We're growing in a way that I hope to look back in 10 years and thank many of you who are here right now. We're doing wonderful work. And it absolutely has a great impact. Because when you begin to presence yourself and involve yourself with the flow of life through the elements in the world around you, you are influencing and participating in forces that many people are sleepwalking through. And because they're sleepwalking, you can have a much greater influence. If you step into it and you bring too much trauma or drama that you're not willing to face honestly, you'll fall back more quickly. You'll fall back more harshly. This is a regular pattern. Rosicrucians call this purifying in place. You could develop some level of spiritual ability to cleanse yourself, but if you're not looking honestly at the human baggage, the emotional stuff of being a normal man or woman or just person, if you're not looking at that, honestly, if you're trying to identify with the highest highs or the purest pure you can reach, you're going to recreate the same problems, because love coming into your life is going to inhabit everything that's really there. I'm a wild flower. I flow through a lot of different forces inspired by the moving spirit of the earth. And shifting topic and shifting macro micro is crucial. Hermetic tradition talks about as above, so below. You need to be able to navigate between recognizing the big picture forces in the earth and the personal influence that has on you. And within that are different elements of yourself, your practical life, your work life, your love life. All of these things are both interplay. They work together. You shift one, you shift another, and they are potentially sabotaging each other. So you seem to be really good in one area of your life, but you're ignoring another. You're really misinterpreting how good you are in this one way, because we can't really progress unless we face our whole self, honestly. Whole self. What does that look like? That looks like the work we do here. So again, there's a spiritual discipline that comes from being willing to let love move through you, inhabit you, and help you face everything. I'd like you to consider, if you want to make love more passionately with your body, sexually, you'd better be able to stop without any resentment and hold your partner if you crack open trauma in them. If you can't do that, you can't even enter certain depths of passion. And this is absolutely metaphorical. If you cannot recognize what happens when positive, beautiful forces bring up trauma, you cannot embody, you cannot invite positive, beautiful spirit into your life. And when this positive, beautiful spirit moves through your community, as it does, you will be pushed to the side. You will be shoved down in a way that is abrasive, painful, even devastating, because you're not ready to let it into your body, because you're not ready to be the kind of person that is this integrated beacon of light. Now, don't worry too much, because really more is in the commitment and in the intention than anything else. This is the most important part, because it's the part you have the most influence over at any given stage in your development, in your progression of awakening. So I'm going to say hi a little bit more, and then we're going to step into sort of a practical integration. I'd like to thank you for your likes, for sharing this. It's very inspiring. Last week we had our most viewed live class ever, and that's people. We're reaching people. We're reaching people in a way that can spread the best of what we're doing here, and that's pure deep heart. Let's just get better at it together. It's a joy to share this with you. Tom, thank you for being here. Sarthak, what a beautiful name. Good evening to you. I imagine this means perhaps you're in India. Thank you for being with us. Please tell us where you are. If not, forgive me for presuming. Happy morning, all. Misty, good to see you. Jin, hello. So good to see you. And many more. Many more. So many beautiful people here. I encourage you to trust. We're doing something. And I invite you to commit as much as you can to joining us, because the power that we share is love. It is love itself. But the vibration that's born out of that love, like, look, love is not the resonance. We talk about falling in love, and you might associate it with the opening of the heart. Oh, absolutely. But it's not the primary. This is part of the expression. Love is not resonance. Love creates beautiful resonance. Love creates our potential to share with each other all over the world, and it really works. So by trusting in it, we gain the capacity to move through our daily lives in the material plane, maintaining this love in our heart. This is the goal, because The big picture transformation is very profound. And as we mentioned at the beginning, this is known by many names, but I actually want to step you back. This is the hard part to embody for Westerners, for Americans in particular, in my experience, because we're so unmoored, we're so unrooted. I'd like you to contemplate everybody in the United States who's white, everybody who's not red, the good red way, Native American, indigenous to this land, everyone who is not of a heritage that traces back centuries here, came here. They were uprooted. They lost their roots. This has a more profound effect on your mind than you might think. And so I'm living in a culture that is both more free to embrace the new because we don't have roots that are as deep, but we're also lacking this deep regard, respect, guidance from our ancestors. Native American traditions pray to their ancestors, to the presence of the root that reaches back for thousands of years. They honor that some of the most important lessons about how to live on Earth have been around for thousands of years. This is not natural to Americans in particular. So I am both more free to embody something new that I saw. And I saw it as a young man, and I gripped and I held. That's who I am. That's what I bring. That's my service. And I'm humbled to the fact that I lack this rootedness. Now, in the Indian culture, Indian in Bali, bless your heart. Thank you, Sartha. Please feel free to expound or correct me, because I will never, I never mean any disrespect when I speak of other people's traditions, who I'm definitely not as well versed in as anyone who grew up this way. But Indian heritage, first of all, it's not one thing. There are like hundreds of cultures and languages. Hinduism was a British term, sort of a bastardization of Indus, the Indus Valley, lumping a lot together. But when you look through the Bhagavad Gita, there's an understanding of the cyclical nature of reality, and there's an ability to embrace the sense that thousands of years ago, human beings were actually more well-developed in some ways than we are now. Tens of thousands of years ago. And all we have to do is stop measuring in terms of technology. Now, first of all, high potential that there were very well-developed technologies on Earth. When you leave, look at a city as it stands, look at everything that's in a city. You leave it alone for long enough, what happens? It deteriorates. Leave it alone some more, it deteriorates even more. Leave it alone some more, you get puddles. You get puddles of the different things that make up a city. That's exactly what you get when you dig through the earth. So don't underestimate our ability to be very silly and naive about life on Earth. And then the next phase of interpreting this, meaning electrical wires, even metal, moving vehicles, potentially combustion motors, easily could have existed thousands of years ago. They would disappear. We wouldn't see them. We wouldn't know them. We wouldn't remember. And even more importantly, and this is where we want to go, folks, this is where we want to go. Even more importantly, in so many ways, it's absurd to think that our technological material focus is developed. We have lost so much. We have lost so much. I've lived for various periods of time with people of different cultures, and I've been heavily influenced by Native Americans who I was given more medicine by the Native American traditions that I've encountered than I could even contemplate within my own, because they taught me how to be in tune with nature. It is very difficult to communicate how important it is to be able to tune into the natural forces of this earth and to be in rhythm with them, at peace with them. We live in my particular culture, in central New York. We live in a world that does our best to deny the reality of the world around us. We control it as best we can. We turn on lights, we turn on sound, we turn on electricity. We eat out of rhythm with health. It would be much healthier to eat a big meal in the middle of the day than at the end of the day. We live out of rhythm with natural forces, and thus we're not just out of tune with the day and the night. We're not just out of tune with the natural rhythms of eating, digestion, and movement. We're not hearing. When your body's out of tune with the rhythms of the world, you can't hear what's happening around you. The fact that it's possible for human beings to argue about whether animals are conscious is disgusting. Of course they are. They're all conscious. They've always been conscious. It's not particularly difficult to tune in and communicate with them once you do the work, but you got to tune, and it's painful to tune. So to understand where we're going, you've got to embrace where we've been. And to embrace where we've been, it's helpful to look to other cultures, particularly the Maya and many traditions in Indian heritage that they have a profound respect for the cyclical nature of reality. In a cyclical understanding of reality, it makes sense for cultures to rise and fall. It's part of the weather of the world, the long cycles. And within this, Gaia does something. Many, many beings are gathered together. We are gathered together bringing cosmic karma. Now, we posted a video about this last week, remembering before you came to Earth. I highly encourage you to share it, listen. It's an incredible paradigm shift, but it is a remembering more than a belief. We brought karma to Earth. And one of the first priorities that the Earth held was to embody the density. She's basically saying, I'll take your density, I'll take your dense energy, and I will let you go liberated from your dense energy. Please watch the video to understand more. The premise here is that if you imagine many, many beings coming to gather together who weren't here, the Earth is chilling, everything's kind of peaceful, not much is going on, cycles are happening, there's a balance to nature. Okay, and then the cycle changes and she says, I'm going to invite a lot of you to come here. And when she does, primary thing that's happening is everybody's bringing dense energy. She wants it. It is compost for new soil and new life. She understands this very well. There's no doubt in her mind about what's going to go on. She knows full well that the whole surface of the Earth will be devastated over the course of thousands of years and then recreate in a new era. This has always been the plan. Always been the plan. In order to digest all this karma, there's something that, again, Rosicrucians call the draft of forgetting. The draft of forgetting is what we take when we're born. We forget. And by forgetting, we embody in a body and we prioritize this. Now, look, I love doing this with you. It's a foundation skill for yoga. So let's just take a moment together. And I will do this for anyone who's new. We do this a lot out of nowhere. We pause, we say, hey, tune into your heart. I invite you to put a hand on your heart. Tune in. There are two ways to do this. You can aim for your heartbeat or you can aim for your heart resonance. The beat is from the heart. It's over a little to the left. The resonance does center in the center near the bottom of the sacrum. And you feel this resonance and then you start to breathe with it. I allow my breath to go subtle at first when I feel the resonance, because that often is what most greatly enhances the resonance. Be subtle, shift pace, deepen. We have this ability, but it takes work. One of the reasons we forget is because it makes the decision irreversible. We forget everything and then we focus on the senses here. Our entire perspective reignites, is incarnated in a physical form. And so everything we know of is centered. We reference reality for the perspective of our body, our vision, our taste, our hearing, our language, the cultural patterns we're born into. So we have a new starting point. If you were to remember everything just from another culture, much less from being a soul out somewhere else, if you were to remember it all when you're born, you would have a very hard time becoming human because you would keep thinking and moving your consciousness in the patterns that you brought here. The goal is to change those patterns. The goal is to digest the karma you brought here, let it go, and be liberated to be something else. You kind of have to trust this in order to get deep enough. You don't have to recognize it for yourself, but you do have to be willing to begin here. Because the premise is that we are taking thousands of years to digest all this karma that beings have brought. And that the process of digesting this karma is ending. So in so many ways, this is what happens. Please garden in some form. Get a pot. Put it by the window. In so many ways, what we're looking at is a compost pile that is broken down enough that it doesn't stink anymore and it's good, rich earth. So this is the difference between your normal life, the dramas, the tensions, the forces that are normal to you, the expectations, the standards, the guidelines, the commitments that you live in are likely heavily grounded in what I'm telling you are patterns that were designed to break down the old compost pile. Competition, warfare, shame, guilt, forces that move you when you don't want to move. Competition makes you try really hard, supposedly your hardest. I assure you it's not the way to inspire the greatest effort. But it inspires people who are trapped in certain mindsets more than they could be inspired in any other way. Guilt, it's a force that makes you move when you don't want to move. Shame, it's a force that makes you change or stop when you don't want to stop. These are all attitudes that are designed to affect sleepwalkers. People who live on autopilot need to be controlled by these forces. And we live in systems that are shaped this way. Debt. I'm so sorry. I love you deeply. I want you to hear me when I say that first. If you're in debt, make a priority of getting out. Debt is a force that takes away your agency. It puts you in a position where you can't make new choices because you're beholden to this other force. So, Luke, I was in debt for ages. Get out of it as best you can. Because what it does is it takes away your agency. We are living in a world that's designed around it. Certainly in the United States. Heavily. We've got it worse than everyone from what I understand. We design systems out of forcing people into patterns that they can't change. And when you're forced into patterns you can't change, you can't tune in. You can't be with the weather. Again, I love you. Truly. When I invite you to recognize that this matters, it could be tempting to start to see it and hate it because it's so painful to think of. It could be a daunting challenge to emphasize this more. But I can't encourage you enough. What I do encourage you to do is stay with us, stick with us, ask for support. I increasingly want to be more conscious and intentional and supportive of these kind of practical challenges because getting out of debt is the kind of, it can feel insurmountable to folks. Joining the sanctuary is one of the best ways I know how to encourage this. And I increasingly want the sanctuary to be a space where we invite you to receive support in being witnessed with your intentions and your ongoing progress in changing these patterns. Sanctuary can be reached through the Wildflower Fire website, community tab. This is where we share together our transformational journey. We've been kind of incubating it for a year, learning how to do this. Time to pick it up. People need help. Welcome here. Thank you for being here. Please share where you want to go and how we can help you get there. The reason all this matters is I invite you to trust that you need to learn to recognize the signs of where you are. It can be hard to tell where you are. So this next sequence, I'm going to try to articulate things you can look out for to understand whether you're in a karmic pattern or a new earth pattern. Let me check you all out just a bit more. Cosmic Man, good morning to you. Thank you for being here. Gary, Thank you so much. Sarah, I'm glad you're here. So glad you're here. Again, welcome to those of you who are new and old. Please understand, when you tune in with us, you're tuning into something that's working. You're invited in, and there's more depth to this than you might be accustomed to finding. This site, this channel, is committed to gathering community so we can help each other transform, and it takes discipline. It leads into, there's a course that teaches the foundations of the wildflower fire practices, which are an integration of chakra work, yoga, and American calisthenics, I would suggest. So there's an intensity here that's helping us stay tuned with each other and with the new earth. I want you to trust that the work you could do in a personal spiritual practice is a foundation here. Like when you commit to doing this work, we're talking 3 times a week, 20 minutes. This is a base level that will keep you tuned. I like more. More is not needed to keep you tuned. The tuning is what gets you open to spiritual messages, open to synchronicity, open to the other signs and ways that will help you stay moving in the healthy new earth patterns. But we all are born torn in this tension between ways of being. And broadly speaking, we're talking about 2 ways here. Karmic Ocean, New Earth. Karmic Ocean, New Earth. The Great Reset, the Grand Turning, the 5th Era, the Age of Aquarius. We're all talking about the new earth here. Many different cultures are bringing their hope to the potluck, the spiritual global potluck. And it's important to honor, acknowledge, and embrace all of this trust and hope. Because what we're doing is we're trying to keep ourselves motivated, alive, inspired enough to keep feeling this joy. Joy, I promise you, the many ways of feeling joy in all sorts of cultures around the world, they will last. We will celebrate more holidays, people. Today is Mardi Gras. We got up today. We got dressed to party. We're celebrating today. I come from a tradition. I got family in New Orleans. For those of you who don't know, we celebrate Mardi Gras down there. It's one of the biggest turning points of my life to be present there and to accept that rejecting joy, rejecting normal ways to share joy with other people in your community is not spiritually superior. It is inferior to think you're above it all, beyond such things. I invite you to trust that you don't have to leave your friends and family behind. I want you to find the ways to celebrate the basic joys in your life together. Because at the same time, I'm inviting you much deeper to say, I want you to make these big commitments because I know this is the medicine that's going to keep you tuned to the new earth. And your friends and family may not copy you. I have plenty of friends and family who don't, and it's fine. I hold this space. This is what I do. Everybody's got to make their own choices. So we're not turning you into go around knocking on everyone's door. But we are inviting you into a way of being that works. When you trust that it's your spiritual practice that could be the pivot between the 2 worlds, you can start to recognize that what you're doing, you're using a practice to tune your mind, your body, and your spirit. This tuning is tuning you to the new earth. It's tuning you to the new earth. You feel it in your heart. You start with your heart. You end with your heart. You're tuning into the new earth, and then that's spreading throughout the rest of your life. It spreads throughout your body. You get a much healthier body, and it's spreading throughout your mind. You have a much clearer attitude. When you look around the world mentally, there are a lot of people who are trying to change. There are forces shifting people all over the place. But I want you to learn to recognize something that you can graduate from. A lot of people are seeking and growing self-help, spiritual, teacher this, teacher that. And they use a particular pattern. It's one pattern that can be applied to a lot of things. And I want you to gain this tool because this is clear, strong sign that you're in a karmic ocean pattern. Here's how it works. Man, heat is really bad. Heat can burn you. I've seen people just fry themselves in fire. Fire is dangerous. You got to stay back from fire. Man, one night stands are really bad. They could burn you. They could hurt you. You are disgusting if you do this. You are betraying the truth of the sanctity of intimacy. Man, marriages are a trap. You give up yourself. You give up your agency. You give up your freedom. You have to change who you are for another person. It's a terrible path to force yourself to be present in monogamy. It's not natural. Man, cold can kill you. You have to stay warm. You should have a heating blanket that you can plug in, keep you warm at night, because if you get too cold, you'll get sick and you could die. I had a friend who died. Man, drugs are terrible. Drugs, I know 5 people who have overdosed on drugs and died and killed themselves. Drugs. Man, being too straight is terrible for you. Being too controlled is terrible for you. You'll be sick. You'll never live your life. You got to break out. You got to take risks. You can articulate any polarity as bad or good. But the key mentality going on here is it's a mentality that's based in polarity. You can look at a lot of these alpha bros and they make statements like this: women feel more emotion than men. Sometimes, maybe overall, if you did the numbers, but that doesn't say anything about any given woman or man. You can't make blanket polarized statements and rest in them. But if you do not question people's polarized attitudes from the outset, like right away, you got to catch it quick, you'll be lost. You'll be lost. I just saw an ad by Drumpf about the terrors of immigration. Oh my God. I could feel it. These immigrants are coming over the wall. They're going to kill us all. And Biden is a terrible, awful person for opening the door. I could feel it. I just had to breathe and be like, this country was built by immigrants. This has always been a danger. Awful people have always been coming here. Some awful people are getting across the border into my country. It's true. Some wonderful, far more wonderful people are. When you stare at reality for what it is, you get over polarizations. And I urge you to realize this very simple thing, because this is a really hard shift to make. People get on a spiritual path and they will bounce around a lot. And the reason they bounce around is simple. It can work. If you are stuck in your life, it can be really valuable to do some breath of fire, Kundalini yoga, just like fry yourself, like intense. Bring intensity in there and get there. You go run with David Goggins and dive in the water in the freezing cold and, push yourself to do 100 pull-ups in 10 minutes. I don't know, whatever. This intensity is medicine when that's the medicine you need. If you define it as awesome when you're actually destroying your joints because you're pushing too hard, and you're not acknowledging that that's what's happening, and you're not acknowledging that your heart is getting weaker because you're pushing it past thresholds where it's telling you it doesn't want to keep pushing, now you've got the opposite problem. Everything can be medicine or curse. Every way that's polarized could be a medicine or curse. You need heat or you're going to get too cold. You need cold or you can't cool down. You might need a one-night stand. Not everybody, but that might be exactly what wakes you up. If it's consensual, if it's exactly what both people are looking for, could be quite healthy. Yeah, you get in a habit of doing that all the time. You're using it to distract yourself. You're using it recklessly. You're using it with alcohol. By the way, I don't actually condone doing that. Rarely see it turn out good. You're making unconscious choices and you're frying the part of your heart that really does get hurt when you bond so deeply with others in this way. It's just hard to make absolute rules about polarities of lifestyle. And so you're entering this way of being that's dynamic. And what will actually happen if you're open enough to it is you will gravitate to what you lack. So if you're too stuck in set patterns, you will feel a surge of life. If someone says, come on, smoke some pot. It might be the medicine for you to break down your boundary and do that. If you're too rigid and controlled about your diet and you're always eating very bland foods, it's going to start to affect your personality. But you've decided that your identity is, I'm a good person because I never eat oil and I never eat sugar. You know what? You could probably have a cookie. In fact, it might be the medicine you need. This is a whole new world. And the problem is a lot of people will not make it very far in, because what they're actually going to do is they're going to do this. They're going to say, okay, they're in a particular way of being. They're stuck in a normal life. They've watched sports. They've done decent in school. They've gone to business school. They've gotten an accounting job. They're kind of stuck. All of a sudden they start to, resist their work. They're hearing voices in their heads. They have challenges and pain in their minds that they can't admit to. They grew up in a family that thought therapy was, giving in or weak. And they have a breakdown. At this point, this person could really use some yoga. It'd be amazing. Yoga is great medicine for breakdowns. It can be used in a way that's extremely healthy for sort of transcending competition and being too forceful, because you're learning to feel nuance. You can't just push in yoga, or you're going to create new tension. But yoga is designed to help you recognize that kind of tension and manifest strength that's also flexible. So when you emphasize this balance between priorities, you start to bring a health in that teaches you to be more balanced. But if this person sort of rejects their family and friends because they try to get their family to do yoga, they're like, this yoga is amazing, don't you understand? Their family's like, fuck you, I don't want to do yoga. They missed the point. This was medicine for them. Maybe it would be good for their family and friends, but maybe their family and friends have another lesson that would be more important for them to address. So if they get mad, try to make everyone copy them, they miss the point that this was medicine for them. So then they go to India, they change their name. They're a white person who changes their name to something Indian. They've cut off their foundation. They've cut off their root. You're going to create an opposite problem, because now you've rejected one form of life, way of being, and embraced another, but that way could be too much too. Any way of being can be overdone. Any overdoing can be poison, can make you sick. So watch how this works. Watch when you watch videos, because you will gravitate to a video. If you are too afraid, you will gravitate to a video from someone that says, come on, face your fear, hold your heart, move through it. If you don't know how to face your fear, that's exactly what you need to do. But do you need to skydive? Maybe. Maybe. Facing fear, not always the best thing. I'm afraid to put my hand into a fire. Should I face that fear? Sometimes fear is just healthy warning, healthy boundaries. Please be present with how important this is. It is in the foundations of what it is to live a good life. I was watching my daughter, my 2-year-old daughter, had a meltdown the other day. She fell asleep prematurely. She's not good at falling asleep from a nap and then getting woken up from it. She had a meltdown, and I was holding her, and the only thing that calmed her down was she wanted to watch videos. And so we scrolled through some videos, and she saw someone doing yoga. She liked the movement. So we stayed with the movement, and I just kept skipping things and stayed with anything that was movement. And we got some of like people who were, by most measures, this is just an artificial reality. No body fat. You can see all their muscles. They look like skeletons with bumps on them. If you get your mind in the right frame, it's utterly absurd that human beings like this exist. In fact, they can only exist in a completely artificial reality where people are totally divorced from nature. They live in the gym. They never touch the ground. They don't even know what a tree is, because they are so out of touch with what's real in this world. It's a world that's about control. They're bringing their body towards a mental goal. For some reason, I'm really on this one. I've recently learned that I have not been watching movies from over 20 years, almost at all. Like I've very small numbers of movies in the past 20 years. I didn't know what was going on. For 10 of those, I had no idea who was who. And what I've learned is that there's this new trend where guys they want to look a particular way. So you see their muscles and their abs and everything. And apparently what they do to shoot these movies is they don't drink water for days because it dehydrates them, which stretches their skin. This is, I want you, I said this last week and I say it again. I want you to see this as a sign of the utter absurdity of the world we're living in. You need to generate this like, what energy to reject the pull, the narrative of the karmic world, because this is all karma. This is all a karmic world where people are in polarized tensions, generating goals in their mind and then sharing those goals and then sharing an evaluation of who's who based in these goals. So the person who could run 100 miles, even though they're destroying their heart, they're going to die young and in pain. It's really bad for your organs to do too much long-term intense motion for longer than an hour and 15 minutes. Our bodies are designed to do that a couple times a year, maybe when we're in danger, maybe when it's crucial to rescue your family, maybe when it's crucial to get the crop in because a storm's coming. That's when our body is designed to be able to do that. And when it does that, it draws strength from our organs and our joints. It starts to eat itself. If you do that regularly, you're going to die young and you're not going to be very happy. You will suffer and you won't feel that. Maybe you're really good at finding certain balances, so it's not going to manifest until you're, I don't know, when does the balance break down? But when the balance breaks down, your organs and your joints are going to be shit because we're not designed to function this way. We're designed to love life. We're designed to love our body. We're designed to love eating a cookie sometimes. You're not designed to push yourself over the edge in polarized ways. And I want to invite you to respect that these are signs of karma. These are signs of our karmic world. It's only in a karmic world that we measure each other against mental priorities in specific polarized directions. Show all my muscles, run the furthest possible, push through every limit. These are all polarized directions. True health is found in balance. True health is found in balance, where you're integrating strength, flexibility, grace. True health is found in having a yin yoga practice where you get to sit still and you tune into the subtle forces that will tell you, they will tell you when it's time to push and when it's not. If you don't know how to relax, it's like having a car without a brake pedal. If you don't know how to go deep within and meditate, it's like having a life without a purpose. If you're living your life on the surface without purpose in polarized directions, you're not really alive. You're sleepwalking. And it's very painful to wake up and realize that some people around us are doing that. But I urge you to recognize it's not doing yoga or not doing yoga. It's not eating healthy or not eating healthy. It's being stuck in polarized directions. And people can do that in all sorts of ways. And there's no value there is no value in refusing to wake up to become aware of these things, other than avoiding the pain of realizing how bad things are. Things are pretty bad. Things are pretty bad in a lot of ways because we're drowning in a karmic ocean. But this is part of gaining the awareness. This is part of gaining the awareness that there's a much better possibility. You can't feel and see and sense the resonance of the new way, of the new earth. You can't recognize it without gaining the perspective that the ways you've been in are painful and numb, that the ways that the people are following around you are painful and numb. It's so hard to make some of these choices because some folks will see them as a judgment. If you start eating healthy and you haven't been eating healthy and you stop meeting your friends for burgers and fries frequently, they might feel a little like, fuck you, you think you're better than us? If your entertainment is drinking regularly with your buddies and you start to say, I don't want to do that anymore, there's a lot of situations, social contexts in which people will take that personally. And you don't get to know. Some people won't. Some people will be inspired. Some people will say, thank you for stepping up and making a change. I've been suffering too. And you don't get to know. And I want you to do it anyway. And I want you to consider what we're creating here, because we're giving each other the support, the reinforcement that we can make these changes together. And in so many cases, we value turning around and bring your friends, bring your family, bring those of them that will do the work to join us. But you got to do the work. Trevor been doing an awesome job holding space, and you might not recognize him yet, but he's there in your mind saying, you got to do the work. You got to do the work. You got to do the work. And when you do the work, you're unconsciously, semi-consciously challenging other people to do the work. It helps to have support in that. Let us be the support. It works. It can be all you need. We could do this online from afar, and then you could be present with your friends and family without judgment. You're doing what you're doing. You're not judging them. You don't know what's best for them, but they might know. They might know eventually. They might ask you. Create space where they can do that. It's the best way. The Wilder Farm, it's so good to see you. Oh my goodness. Absolutely. The Wilder Farm. Giving myself permission to see pleasure and relaxation as vital parts of life has been a huge shift for me. This really reinforces that. I'm going to tell you guys something. Oh, Ryan, thank you for being here. I'm so glad you're here, man. Ryan, when Ryan showed up, everything got better for me. All right. Ryan's witness is a gift to life. Thank you for being here, Ryan. It's funny, Ryan showed up a year and a half ago when I was throwing fits because I was really frustrated about the way things worked. And I was really frustrated that polarized leaders, polarized public figures, polarized YouTubers were essentially sharing lessons that I was pissed they were getting so much attention, because there's so many inherent flaws in polarized guidance. Can only go so far. All the reasons we're talking about. They're saying it'll work for a while and then you'll crash if you don't learn to listen to someone else. And then you have to figure it out on your own, because you're embodying a school of thought that is not integrated. It's not whole. It's not navigating between poles. And Ryan showed up when I was really frustrated about all that. And things really started to turn. And at that point, I had a value not to show you all when I got pissed, because I'm like, oh, I will undermine people's spiritual respect for me if I show you that I get pissed sometimes. And another part of this value is what I'm about to go to, because I have told this story like once, but I do shy away from it. Today is Mardi Gras. Today is Mardi Gras. I went through one of the greatest healings of my life on Mardi Gras. When I was 27, I was deep in my Saturn returns, which I did have enough knowledge to understand was influencing me. Saturn goes around the sun about 28 something years, and at about 27 something, we start to get influenced by it in a way that, and I was almost 28, and we start to get influenced by it in a way that brings up a lot of our personal challenges. And I was going through it. I was scared. I was overwhelmed. I was doing yoga. I was eating relatively healthily. I was vegetarian at the time. I thought that made me a good person. I was doing a lot to take care of myself, and I was scared frequently. My mind was chaotic. And I went to New Orleans to visit my grandmother and my uncle and aunt. We all went out to dinner. And we're at dinner, and at dinner, I felt guidance that said, tomorrow, shave your head and run barefoot in the street. And I got a vision. I could see it. I was going to shave my head, paint it gold, run barefoot in the street. And somehow I responded, only? I talked to the vision. I said, only if you give me hallucinogens. Now, I share this with care. I would say of all the times I've done hallucinogens, most of them have been largely healing experiences. Painful healing, like bringing me to things that were stuck, and it wasn't very pleasant. It's not a party drug, in my opinion. It can be used that way. People can go through transformation that way. It's deserving of caution. We lose people to them. You can break your mind. You can break your mind. disconnect from your life. So I also say that because there could be a lot of healing in them, and it can be an incredible rite of passage, and it really was for me. Because the next day I got up, I shaved my head, painted it gold, put on a grass skirt, and we went out marching. My aunt and uncle are part of really deep in New Orleans. My aunt's family's been there since the 1700s. And we were in a crew marching in the street, and someone came up to me and they just looked at me, picked up my wrist, and they asked, and they dosed me. You can take a vial of acid, put some on your wrist. I ran in the street barefoot for 12 hours. Ran barefoot for 12 hours. I had a little tiny scratch on my foot by the end of the day. And what I did that day was I got on top of the intensity that I was in. I got on top of the forces that I was under. I channeled them. So rather than being smushed and smashed and pushed around by them, I learned to ride. I learned to ride the intensities. And when I did, I was dancing up and down. So the crew was marching, right? And I was marched forward and back and forward and back. And I was moving. I never crashed into anyone. I was moving a dimension faster than other people. And I just knew how to shift. And I kept it. I kept this ability. And it's a mental ability as much as it is a physical one. And it's a spiritual when you put those two together. So to gain the ability to move in and out and faster than other people is a critical part of living in a new earth way while you're still around other people who aren't. And one of the major gifts of this is you stop crashing into other people. You start to realize that if you try to stay at the same pace as everybody else, you may crash into them because you're channeling more emotion and energy. You know this, right? You know that I'm speaking to you. Don't second guess it. Who's second guessing it? Tell me. So one of you is seriously second guessing this. I want you to tell me. You know this is you, right? I'm not telling you to do acid. I'm telling you to own your pace. There's a wild flowing fire moving in you. You can't back this down. This is alive in you. It's going to keep coming back. You're praying for it in ways you don't understand. You can't turn the clock back on this. What you need to do is step it up. You need to be willing to move faster. And I'm telling you that when you move faster, you will crash less, because sometimes that's true. Sometimes the way is to allow the motion of life force in you and to get so good at this that you start to perceive in different ways. I was a better driver in New York City than I am in a small town. It kept my mind fast, kept my mind aware. You just have to turn it up. I'm not telling you to go for this if it's not what's naturally there. I'm telling you, is this you? Is this you? Because owning your pace is what's going to allow you to stay present, maybe even in your job, certainly with your partner. If you're a parent with other people, I would do so much to stay with them, so much work. Don't identify as spiritually superior, but move at your pace. Own it. Own your pace, own your rhythm, feel it and be good at it. And as so doing, you will create space for other people to embody their truth. And maybe they won't copy you at all. Maybe they have a totally different gift that manifests in a way that's absolutely complementary to you, and you could never speculate on what it is. I'm saying this because someone's are hearing this, and you're scared. You're scared, and you're scared for legitimate reasons. It's frightening to step into yourself. It feels like leaving people behind, but you're not going anywhere. You might feel the urge to. It could be tempting. It's spiritual sloppiness, by the way, to just say damn, I just embodied this new intensity. It'd be so much easier if I didn't have to deal with anybody else. I could just be in this, right? That's not how life works. Sometimes you got to leave, but don't rush to that conclusion. If you have a part of yourself that periodically steps into your best and then represses it for the people around you, question yourself. If you have a part of yourself that's repressing yourself for the people around you, and you remember them saying they don't like it when you do that, understand you're the one remembering it. Maybe give them a chance to let go and let you change. Commit to doing it gracefully, to commit to doing it kindly. Don't be a drama. Don't be a drama. I am saying all this because it can be frightening to change, and it's worth it. The new earth is here. It's present. present. I promise you, the transcendence of polarity is possible. It involves recognizing that every polarity is part of these. Every up, every down, every hot, every cold. It's not up to you to judge others, but you can discern when others are out of rhythm and out of tune, and you can dance around them. You move faster, you see faster than everybody who's stuck in the karmic world. You move faster and you move slower. You know how to be still when other people are impelled to move. You gain the ability to live in the highs and the lows, the fast and the slows. It's such a gift. Such a better life. Every day becomes more vibrant, more alive. It's more confusing, but then it's less confusing. You're just asking the question, what's today for? What's alive today? What's here today? What's the weather today? What's my spiritual presence today? What am I needed for today? What's real now? What's possible now? What's open? What's an option? What's available to live and to breathe now? Because when it's time to be still, don't move. When it's time to be contemplative, don't try to force through a project that you committed to doing 3 weeks ago without any recognition of what would be happening today. Do what you got to do, get it done, but realize what the weather of today is, because these are hallmarks of the new earth, and we're entering a time where increasingly we need to all be liberated to make free, available choices to tune in with the rhythms of the earth. We're entering a time when we are being invited to help create systems of living, organizations, corporations, businesses that are in harmony with the rhythms of the earth, that are available to chill out, to let people stay at home today because that's the rhythm of today, to let you be creative and introspective today because you are trusted and respected. You were trusted and respected to know your own truth, because on the days you're ready to assert and act, you know, the people around you know that you will be your best. And part of why you're your best is because you took a break yesterday, or you went inside yesterday and were left alone. You need the freedom to live this way. Start with us. Wildflower fire, wildflower fires, wild flowing fires, wildflowers. Thank you for being here. Please consider joining us in the sanctuary. In a couple minutes, we're going to share a meditation designed to help you tune yourself and heal. You can find it through the Wildflower Fire website, wildflowerfire.com community. There's a banner at the top with a link that says join the weekly gathering. Check in. Everybody can join it. You pay a membership fee to stay, to connect and communicate. And I urge you to consider joining and staying. We'd love to have you.